Hi everybody, I'm Phil Fatika. Welcome once again to the Millcreek Government Channel. It's Channel 9 and two dynamic guests for you today, as we always have. A gentleman I'd like to welcome back to this table. He is on your left, and that is Michael Gaines. Mr. Gaines is the Executive Director of the Bradley H. Folk Children's Advocacy Center, and the beautiful woman in the middle, I'm saving the best till last, is Mary Ann Daniels, and Ms. Daniels is the Executive Director of the Erie County Office of Children and Youth. Two powerhouse players. Michael, welcome back to the table. Welcome to the table for the first time. Really appreciate it. There's always a time of the year when many agencies want to draw real special attention to their specific concerns as to what they do for a living, and it's no exception here when we're talking about child abuse awareness. The springtime is always that time of the year, it seems, when we want to focus and put those lasers there. So Michael, let's start with you, and again, we'll save the best till last here. You work for the Bradley H. Folk Children's Advocacy Center, and how does that tie into child abuse in our community?
Well, the purpose of the Bradley Folk Children's Advocacy Center is to be a child-friendly location where children who may have been abused come to be interviewed by a professionally trained interviewer as part of the investigative process that's conducted by the Office of Children and Youth and by law enforcement, DA's office. And also we make sure that we refer the families to the proper services available in our community that they might use to help heal, to help survive.
Do you have a physical location? Is there a physical?
We do.
Can you reveal it?
Yes, we're at 2005 West 8th Street.
Okay, 2005 West 8th, corner of 8th and Sassafras.
No. We're almost not quite out to Pittsburgh Avenue. We're between Lincoln and Pittsburgh.
2005.
2005.
Well, math was never my strong suit. Sorry.
That's okay.
2005. I'm going
yes.
2005. All right. So actually then, we should have begun with you, Mary Ann.
That's okay.
Because that's where the gears and the rubber meets the road. Again, Office of Children and Youth. Huge agency, many responsibilities. They got the right woman in the job too, the right person in the job. So, you got about 3.5 years. What do you do?
Well, what we do at our agency, we're responsible for taking the phone calls and for putting workers out into the field to investigate reports of abuse. We also make referrals. We work with families to prevent abuse. We do a wide variety of activities in the community to assure that kids who may be in trouble receive some help.
I must say too that in these positions, executive, directors, both, that you come pretty well prepared with multi-years of education and training, correct?
Yes.
You didn't just volunteer and step into the position.
That's
so we're
correct.
talking to some real experts here, the cream of the crop, the top of the ladder for sure. There is, in my mind, I cannot understand child abuse. How can that occur? And I assume then there's a child abuse task force. Okay, what is that, and what does it do, and who's involved in it? And tell everybody out there, it's all of Erie County watching.
I'd be happy to field that. We have gathered together representatives of various agencies that all work in some aspect of things, be it at the beginning end where calls are received and investigations are begun, or be it at the end where people are getting counseling and help to recover, and everything in between. It's a group that's been meeting together now for about 1.5 years. And as there are 22 agencies involved. They include the DA's office and law enforcement. It includes the Office of Children and Youth. It includes the Erie School District. It includes a number of the mental health, the hospitals, and provider agencies, even the Community Foundation, all part of a concerned group of people coming together to say, how can we make a difference in our community, in the lives of our children, so that we can help prevent child abuse before it happens. And that's really the focus of this group.
Is there a number that you can tell us people can call and report this? Is there a website they can go to? Or?
As far as reporting abuse, reporting abuse, the number for that should be on the screen.
Yep, it is.
And we would encourage anyone who has a suspicion of abuse to call that number.
Okay, yeah, because that sets in motion a huge series of wheels that begin to turn.
Yes.
And you are guided by many rules and many regulations
That's true.
as to what can and cannot occur. And doggone it, I called you an hour ago and you haven't gotten back to me yet. How come it's taking you so long? So let's put that right there. When we're talking about speaking about child abuse, what are we really talking about? You know, my neighbor looks out, my daughter, I told you not to do that. Now, is that reason to call me, or is...
I think that's absolutely reason. If you suspect something is going on, we encourage people again to call. The first step in prevention is making the call.
Okay.
Is that child abuse? We won't know until we look into it.
Okay.
And one of the things that we always say to people is don't be hesitant to call and let the professionals take a look. It's not a matter of being the investigator, being the decider. It's simply you see something that raises a concern. If it raises a concern in your mind, it's worth a phone call.
Okay, okay. Now, you should go, I should say this, is the Office of Children and Youth deals in more than child abuse, of course. There's parenting, there's foster parenting, there's the actual removal of the child from a situation that could be just riven with child abuse among many of the siblings, and you have to withdraw the child. So
that's correct.
You can talk about that for the next 5 years. We'll just come back, because that is 15 shows in itself.
That's correct. We are not just responsible for safety, although that is our primary purpose, is assuring safety. We also seek permanency for children, and when they cannot stay in a home, we seek to find a permanent home, perhaps a foster parent, an adoptive home. And we also look at well-being issues, which includes health and those issues.
One of the things, if I can interject, though, is that's certainly primary for Office of Children and Youth to ensure that safety, but their first alternative is not removing the child from the home. Right. Their first alternative is always to try to support the family, to try to keep families together and make things go in a positive direction. Right. If child safety demands it, then they'll take that action of needing to do.
So it starts with you.
That's
and
correct.
Then you are the one that says, we'll take your water cup here and say, really, you should be going to talk to Michael? And do you refer them to Michael?
We refer them to Michael's agency when we determine there's enough evidence for us to talk to the child.
Okay.
And the beauty of Michael's agency is that it is a collaborative effort. You know, we don't have a situation where our caseworker's talking, police are talking, the district attorney's talking. Everybody's in the room watching the interview, do an interview. That child only has to talk one time.
Oh, that's really good information.
Yes.
Okay, only one time. So the process, Phil. You know, Phil's been abused. My father's just wailing the tar out of me physically and insulting me emotionally. And so I tell my story to you, and you say, you know, he's a candidate for further evaluation. So what happens then, Michael or Marianne?
Well, once we get a phone call, either from the Office of Children and Youth or from a law enforcement agency, we schedule an interview. We have a professionally trained interviewer who knows how to speak to children on the appropriate developmental level for that child. The child comes to the agency. Somebody from OCY, somebody from law enforcement, somebody from the district attorney's office are present as a team to watch by a closed circuit television the interview while this professionally trained interviewer meets with the child.
And when you say child, what age are we defining here? I mean, is there a bracket?
We would do an interview with a child in the young end, as soon as they're able to articulate what they and tell the story in a way that they can clearly show that they're telling reality and not fantasy, all the way up to age 18.
Okay.
Or in the case of developmental issues, perhaps even older than that.
Even older than that. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can deal with them for quite a while. Okay. So Phil has been referred to you. You pretty much believe what I'm telling you. I'm 7, I'm 8, I'm not, whatever, you choose the age. And then what happens next?
Okay, if the child does indeed give us information, discloses that something is going on, then it goes back to the Office of Children and Youth and law enforcement to follow up with the appropriate investigation to see if indeed that can be substantiated what's happening. If that's indeed substantiated, there could be charges filed by the district attorney. There could be somebody indicated as an abuser, a child abuser by the Office of Children and Youth. From our point of view, what we do is we make sure that the non-offending family members know how to get further support, where to go to places like the Crime Victim Center, to go to appropriate trauma-focused counseling, to go to medical help if they need medical examinations.
Should insert here that this cuts across all kinds of economic, socioeconomic, gender, it doesn't matter. You know.
It does not
Rich,
matter.
poor, black, white,
Absolutely.
pink, green, yellow, it doesn't matter.
Correct.
Yeah.
The entire demographic.
The entire demographics.
That's one of the issues that makes preventative efforts such a challenge, because if you had a target group, you could target prevention activities, but this happens to any age, any socioeconomic group, any race, any part of the county, any demographic. So when you're talking about doing preventative education and preventative efforts, you have to reach out to everybody.
So, in your considered professional opinion, which is expert opinion here, is this on the rise? Is it going to flatten out, or is it on the decline? And if it is on the rise, why so?
Interestingly enough, over the last few years, our numbers have slightly trended down. That's not to say the child abuse itself is not on the rise. What I think it is to say is that right now people aren't reporting as much as they did last year. It's a slight decline, and over the years we watch it go up and down and up and down.
You're talking about Erie County, or
Talking
you're talking
about Erie
Pennsylvania,
County.
United
Talking about Erie
States?
County.
Okay,
Yes,
Erie
that's
County.
correct.
Is Erie County representative of the United States? Are our numbers about the same as
I believe
reported
they are.
nationwide?
I believe they are, yes.
Okay. Let me be the devil's advocate here. I'm old enough that I could say this. You know, you handed me a bunch of junk. Spare the rod, spoil the child. You know, that's what I grew up with. Come on, you know. A good whaling, come on, he'll be okay. You got an hour to answer that one, too.
Well, you know, there are limits. There are limits on discipline for children. And parents most certainly can choose a variety of methods of discipline, but hurting a child is not appropriate.
Okay, so then that becomes, let's go back a little full circle here. Who's required to report child abuse?
Well,
I mean, I'm going to stick my nose in your business? Come on.
Let's make a distinction here in the words that you said. Who's required to report?
Okay.
That would be anyone who, in the normal conduct of their profession or business, comes in regular contact with children, or has a position in which they have some sort of custody or governance or guardianship, whatever you want to say, of children. So that would include teachers and doctors and nurses,
and coaches
and clergy people, and any number of folks that would normally, in their ordinary, everyday activities, come in regular contact with children.
Well, but that's just me and my neighbor now, and I see him out there, and geez, he just doesn't, he can't keep his hands off the kid drops the baseball, he insults him, he physically abuses him. I mean, come on, he's my neighbor. Do I really got to call you and go, hey, Mary Ann, I got a real problem here with my neighbor?
You are not required to, but we would encourage you to do so. And one of the things that we tell people who might be hesitant is, your reports are anonymous. Now, your neighbor may suspect that you reported, but your anonymity is guaranteed by our agency.
Okay, that's important, that anonymity.
And also, state law does prevent anyone from having liability for making a report as long as it's made in good faith.
That's right.
Oh, excellent.
So,
general question here. What can people do to protect the children in their lives? I mean, clearly some male and females were not meant to be parents. I mean, that's just procreating doesn't make you a parent. Sperm donor doesn't qualify.
One of the most important things that I like to tell people is that when you see someone who is struggling as an adult and they're a parent, whatever support you can provide them, parenting is hard. Parenting is hard when there's two parents with good incomes. It becomes much more difficult. Frustrations rise, financial tensions. All of those things contribute to a parent's short fuse. So I think the very first thing you can do, if you have a family member, if you have friends, if you have neighbors, and you can provide a little additional support that helps them parent their children, helps them have a little release, please do that. Please do that. I think that is very important. Helping the adults help the children.
And I know from experience, in fact, that they have seen this, and you deal with this on a daily basis. That must be very difficult because you don't see always the better side of us. You see the underside of the beast.
You have to keep a positive attitude about that. There's so many people out there who really are willing to help. That really is the nice thing about the task force. It is a group of people who are willingly coming together to try and prevent child abuse.
Before we start taping, I always tell people make sure your cell phones are either off or muted, which begs the issue that we live in a technological universe now.
Right.
Twitter, Facebook, texting, that's the life of children today.
It is.
And the question I have in front of me is what role does technology play in child abuse and its prevention? Twofold. Maybe one can take abuse, one can take prevention.
Okay.
We'll split that up.
Well, I'll start with the abuse side, and we'll tag team with each other.
Okay. All right.
Today, you don't know who is in conversation with your children because of the free access that our children have to so much technology. They can be contacted by someone they think is an age mate, that they're just chit-chatting. In fact, the person on the other end of that conversation may be an adult who really is trying to cultivate some sort of relationship in order to get the child to meet them or to take naked pictures of themselves and send them, or all those sort of things. And one of the things that we see more and more of is this children being approached when they are using either computer or social media or things by these folks who really want to take advantage of them.
Okay.
There's more and more of that. We're starting to get warned even about child trafficking that's happening more and more.
Slaves? Sex?
Yeah.
Both?
All of that.
Okay. So we're not talking just here, we're talking the world.
We are, and it happens that not too far from here, not in one of our neighboring states, is a center for child trafficking, and it could very easily touch here without too much trouble.
Okay. The other side of that.
Well, I think that media and technology make our jobs easier as far as education and awareness. You know, it's not a dirty little secret. It is out there. We hear about it, and the more we hear about it, the more we're encouraged to report it, I hope.
Yeah, I think that the advertising campaigns that you have seem to work. I get that impression that they seem to touch that nerve to get out there and do that. So, again, on your left is Michael Gaines. Michael is the Executive Director of the Brad Falk Children's Advocacy Center. You may say the Brad Falk name is familiar. Yes, he was the former Erie County District Attorney who passed away way too young. And sitting in the middle, making us all look way bad because she looks so way good, is Mary Ann Daniels. She is the Executive Director of the Erie County Office of Children and Youth. You touched upon foster and adoptive parents. A lot of people watching. How do you become a foster parent? Hey, I'm pretty good. I'm going to play right into your hand, Michael. Man, this is going to help me because I can just take naked pictures of these kids and I can force them to do things. I'm really loving what you're saying because I can use the media to my advantage. How do you know I'm not that kind of person?
Well, we certainly do studies on folks who apply to our agency as either an adoptive parent or a foster parent. Those folks have to go through the complete gamut of checking their clearances, whether or not they've had any history criminally, whether or not we have a history on them and in the rest of the nation on child abuse. We have a fingerprint system. And then we are in their homes, studying their homes, asking them questions. So we do what we hope is a very thorough check, and we revise that frequently.
Okay. Mary Ann's workers are very diligent in trying to do a very thorough job in background checking and family situation checking to make sure that it's only the best people who become the foster people for our children. I mean, could somebody slip through the process? We're all human, anything's possible.
Absolutely.
But we will be, I mean, they also follow, it's not a matter of putting children someplace and forgetting them. They also follow up, so to make sure that things are still good.
This is a very broad question. How did this movement or when did this movement begin that children do have rights? They don't vote, but they do have rights. And we don't, water glass here, we're just not going to take them and put them in in a home, you know, where they're going to be in an orphanage, and hopefully, like Annie, somebody will come and adopt you.
Sure.
Can you kind of time frame when that movement started becoming more legal, more jurisdictional, more professional,
Sure.
where people started saying, well, we need to do something about this. It's not working the way we have it. I mean, if you go back 100 years, that's okay.
Well, I can tell you in the most recent history, what I've watched happen is that it ties into your question about the media and technology. You know, as people have had the opportunity to become more aware, children have gained in their ability to have a voice and have rights, and become recognized as someone who should have a say in what happens in their own destiny.
Yeah. Michael, I know that you're a student of history. I'm going to take it back to at least probably maybe the 60s, perhaps. More social consciousness was born then. Is that okay with you?
I would certainly say that in that time frame would have been a major shift in how things were done. Even in Erie, if you talk to some of the people, they'll talk about remembering the big dinners that were held to support St. Joseph's Orphanage here in town, and then then the need for caring for children didn't go away, but the manner in which children were cared for changed. And the orphanage is now an apartment building, I believe, and and it was in that 60s, 70s time frame when those shifts really started taking place. You hear so much in the media about people wanting to adopt children from not just here, but from outside the country. There was so much love out there, and I think it was Russia that said you can't adopt anymore. You can only adopt one or something. I may have the country wrong. The stigma, I guess, my bottom line question, the stigma of being adopted, did it ever exist? I mean, people now are proud to say, you know, you have movie stars adopting people, children of different color, and proud to say, you know, who cares? You know, this child needs a mother and a father and a family, and we're it.
Families have evolved.
Yes.
And the definition of family has evolved.
Yes.
Yes, and I think with that has become a much more open-minded community about what that means for a child to have a family.
Yeah, I see that a lot, We got a couple of minutes left. Again, Michael Gaines on your left, Marianne Daniels in the middle. Marianne is the Executive Director of the Office of Children and Youth. Let's start with you. Your plea again is if you see abuse occurring, what do you do?
You make a phone call to the number on the screen. Please make your report. You can make your report anonymously. You can give us your name, but please make the report. Okay.
Michael, they make the report, feels being abused, and eventually I end up in your office. What happens then?
We have a very child-friendly office. When a child walks in the lobby, there are games and there's bright colors and things to make them relax, and we interview them with somebody who knows how to talk with children. The authorities are watching by closed-circuit television in order to get the information they need to conduct the investigation. We refer the families to the appropriate medical and counseling and victim services, and we do our best to help make things good that perhaps were not so good.
I didn't mean to leave this till last because we've got about a minute left. Is there a fee attached to any of this?
No.
Is there money?
No.
So that's the good news.
That's the good news.
We can leave on a high note here for today.
That's right. And we're here to keep families together if we can.
There is no money attached to this whatsoever.
Exactly. You know, our agency is not a governmental agency as Marianne's is. We're a nonprofit, and it's the generosity of the community that provides our services to the children and the families.
Child abuse. If you are aware of it, and as you heard these people, the experts talking today, are you required to? Again, in your words?
We're encouraging you to report. There are required reporters, but if you're not, we'd still encourage you to report.
Thanks so much for being with us today. I'm Phil Fatika. Until next time, take care.